car wash, Rusty speaking.
Initially, I didn't set out to start a business. A good friend of mine, he and I were sitting on the porch, and there was the existing car wash across the street, but it was out of service. So I said to him, I said, man, I'm gonna go see, what's going on with this car wash. The business actually developed early on. It wasn't as successful, so it was closed down. Whenever my wife kind of talked me into saying, hey, let's give it another go. If there's one thing I ever remember my father asking me before he passed, he said, when are you going to start something and finish it? He said, you've got 20 incomplete projects. So that always rings in the back of my mind, when are you going to start something and finish it? One of the things is that I really needed to step out on my faith. Going from working for another company to going into business for myself was a gigantic step. When I went to the development center, and this is in Orangeburg, began to work with Gary, got things set up, got the banking account set up, got the LLC set up, everything that I needed to become a legitimate business.
The next step was he came in. I think you may have talked to Gary, but then afterwards he was talking to Jim. And so Jim said, well, what are you doing with your money? How are you accounting for your money?
And I said, well, I'm just putting the money in my pocket. And he goes, what? Nobody just puts the money in their pocket. That was funny.
Exactly, it was funny because, you really started the business. You didn't need a loan or anything, so you actually started the business out of pocket.
Out of pocket. I began to start bookkeeping. I started compiling all of the records, things that we were doing, purchases. I kind of had maybe a dozen or so notebooks, and I had to combine them to get all of the information that I need.
I talked to you about our student internship program, and I talked to you about a student, her name was Angelica. And actually what she was doing was everything that he had on paper, she was taking everything out of his bank account and what was on paper and putting it into QuickBooks for him. And also, by doing your QuickBooks, we know that you are profitable now. We had to go in and, adjust some things, and you weren't able to, in the beginning you didn't account for the money that you had actually put into the business. So we sat down and I talked with Angelica, and I was like, well, you know what? You are a lot more profitable than what you really think, because you didn't even account for all the equity that you actually, the owner's equity that you actually put into the business.
I think it was one of the best things that I could have possibly done was to reopen the doors. My wife, in the beginnings, she came, she brought water, she brought, in the beginning, there wasn't anybody. It was just so much that we had to do initially. My wife was there. She was there from the time we got the first shirt design to the magnets that we put on side of the vehicles. Just so much that she was involved in. It was really an interesting time. I was excited, and that's kind of where the business at that point became the business. Right now we have about 8 guys. One young lady. We're actively involved in the community. We have worked with numerous foundations. We offer a fundraising program back to the community, and the business has really become a pillar in the community.
Since you came in initially, and I actually met you, you have really come a long way from that point in time. You talked to me about how you didn't have a business background, how you just kind of stumbled up on this, and you thought about doing it. But now, when I look at it, you're highly successful.
For other people to come and say, hey man, your business is doing really well, it means a lot. To be able to see what others see. Sometimes I have to walk across the street and look back over at the building to see what other people are actually seeing sometimes. So we've still got our journey. We've got some days ahead of us, and I think as we continue to work with the South Carolina State Small Business Development Center, I look to see great things in the future.